Hello and welcome, my fellow Steelers fans, to the 2022 State of the Steelers pre-training camp address. Guys, we are fast approaching the training camp, which starts on July the 27th, 2022 in Latrobe at St. Vincent College. Yes, guys, it is time for the State of the Steelers 2022 address. And my fellow Steelers fans, things are looking very positive for the Pittsburgh Steelers going into the 2022 season. I was going to sing the national anthem, but I decided not to because it might offend you Americans at how bad my voice actually really is. So, guys, we are standing on the verge of another season. Today is July the 1st, and in 26 days, the Pittsburgh Steelers will report to Latrobe in St. Vincent College for the first day of Steelers training camp. Official training camp will begin, and those position battles will begin, and the roster will start to take shape, and the coaches will develop an understanding and a greater working relationship with this season's Pittsburgh Steelers roster. So, guys, we stand on the verge of a very different 2022. It's the end of an era. Our great leader of the last 18 years has gone. Ben has retired. He stood down, and a huge change now stands in store for our franchise. For 18 years, we've had consistency. We've had a solid quarterback. We've not had to worry about that position because we knew number 7 would always be there. But now we stand on the verge of a new, exciting era. Mike Tomlin described it as exciting in terms of putting himself under stress to come to terms with not having Ben. You know, you could always rely on Ben, couldn't you, to that fourth quarter comeback, to fight back when we needed to be that man who led us to victory in the most darkest and harshest of moments. But now Ben has gone. And where do we stand, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Steelers fans? Where do we stand? We stand with Mitch Trubisky, QB1. At least that's how it is slated at this moment in time. A question that many Steelers fans are asking, including myself, is, does he get a full one season go at this to prove himself as a future Steelers quarterback? I think we forget that he was a second pick in the first round of the draft, taken ahead of Mahomes and ahead of Deshaun Watson. Does he get his chance to prove himself with the Pittsburgh Steelers this coming season? Does he go for a Ryan Tannehill type turnaround? Tannehill, who was proved to not be the most successful of quarterbacks in Miami, went to Tennessee and has seemingly turned it around. Tennessee quite often finishing as the top seeds in the AFC and winning the AFC South on numerous occasions. Now, I know, my fellow Steelers fans, that the AFC South is not the same division as the AFC North. Nowhere near as tough. I know that. But does Tannehill have the weapons that Trubisky has? Does Tannehill have Najee Harris? Yes, he has Derrick Henry. But does he have Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Calvin Austin III, Pat Freymu, players of that caliber? No, he does not. And does he have a defense that backs him up? Well, he has a decent defense, but not as good as the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I think we forget that Mitchell Trubisky, in his time in Chicago, was actually 29 and 21. And between 2017 and 2020, and 3 out of his 4 seasons were winning seasons in Chicago, despite the fact he had to work with one of the worst head coaches in NFL history in Matt Nagy, whose offensive mind is just mush. Mitchell is mobile. He has a decent arm. He fits this Canada system. He will help the Canada system to work. So, guys, we have a quarterback capable of taking over from Ben and bringing something extra that Ben didn't have, which was the mobility and the ability to throw over the middle and throw deep. Something, God love Ben, he did not have at the end of his career due to those injuries that he sustained. Of course, there is the Pickett question, the eternal Kenny Pickett question. When will Pickett come in? Will Pickett start this season at all? Will he come in after the bye week? Will he win the training camp battle? That is, of course, a question that hangs over Mitch Trubisky, but should force up Trubisky's standards this coming season. Did you know that only 7 quarterbacks selected at 20th or later in the NFL draft started week 1? The 3 best of those being Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, and Derek Carr. Others have not been so successful. So there's not like a massive, huge trend towards that happening. But it is certain that any competition between Pickett and Trubisky will help to push each other to raise the standards, which can only be of the very best for our Pittsburgh Steelers. So, guys, the quarterback 1 slot appears to be on the way to being sorted, thanks to the work of our past GM, Kevin Colbert, who has now been replaced by Omar Khan, who is doing a wonderful job, and I have every faith in Omar to continue that hard work. We move on now to our leader, our great leader on the sidelines, our head coach, Mike Tomlin. Respect is due to this gentleman for what he has done over his 15 seasons in Pittsburgh. I know there are some people out there that question his playoff record, which stands currently at 8-9. But we forget, I think, how hard it is to win in the NFL, how hard it is to win divisions, how hard it is to win AFC championship games, and how hard it is to win playoffs. Would Tomlin not have a better record had Bill Belichick and Tom Brady never existed? Certainly, he would have more AFC championships and more shots at winning the Super Bowl had we not had that Belichick-Brady pairing in New England for all those years. You know, I don't know what you think, but if we look at the case of AB, for example, Antonio Brown, one of the greatest wide receivers in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you look at what happened in Tampa Bay, well, look at how he went off the rails there. Look at how he went off the rails in New England. Look at how he went off the rails in Las Vegas. The only coach that has ever been able to control and get the best out of AB is Mike Tomlin. Perhaps he needs some retroactive Coach of the Year award to be able to deal with Antonio Brown. If you can deal with players like Brown and bring the best out of them, you are a good coach. My friends at the NFL Network have given me this information, and I thank them for this. You know, no worse than a 500 record in any of his 15 seasons. Even in 2019, been 8-8 with a duck and a reindeer at quarterback. You know what? I am so impressed with what Coach Tomlin brings to the Steelers. And those of you who are fortunate enough, as I was, to listen to or to watch that interview, the pivot interview that he gave to Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor. Wow, what an inspiring man. About not wanting to seek comfort, about not wanting to swim in comfort, about that constant need to prove oneself, that constant drive to be the best, the constant drive to want to the best for his players, knowing his players have got to eat, provide for their families, and it is his duty to do that. Coach Tomlin is a great man and a great coach. He does not run from coaching, as he said. He runs to coaching. He believes that any coach that says that a player he has bad hands or he can't do that, that is bad coaching. And it is Coach Tomlin's job, he says, to get the best out of all of his players. And it's his players that keep him coming back year after year after year for the very best for our Pittsburgh Steelers. So with Coach Tomlin at the helm, in Coach Tomlin we trust, we have another winning season and are there to get into the playoffs this coming year. What else, guys? Well, my fellow Steelers fans, we have to turn to one of the best hires the Pittsburgh Steelers have made in many a year. We are going to feel the full Flores effect this coming season. Coach Brian Flores was unjustly treated by the Miami Dolphins. Sacked for what? For getting the Dolphins for the first time in years for 2 winning seasons back to back. Stephen Ross does not know what he is doing as owner of the Miami Dolphins. Coach Flores is a great talent. He's a head coach, being a position coach. Miles Jack spoke as if it's like stealing having Coach Flores on board for our Pittsburgh Steelers. Coach Flores has already paid special detail to Devin Bush, to Miles Jack, to Robert Spillane, to developing those inside linebackers, working on their coverage running, working on their attack routes, working on their angles, and developing them as linebackers. I have no doubts that Devin Bush will be back this season to his very best, and that will be thanks to Brian Flores. My fellow Steelers fans, he is also respected by the defense. He pretty much has control over that front seven, that fearsome front seven. Cam Hayward, Tyson Alualu back, Larry Ogunjobi, Alex Highsmith, Miles Jack, Devin Bush, and the awesome TJ Watt. Brian Flores' influence is only going to make that seven better, stronger, faster, harder this year. Rush defense to be taken care of as well. Coach Flores has military-type precision in what he does. You either get it 100% right or it's wrong, and we do it again till we get it right. He's listened to by the players. He's respected by the players because of that perfection. He's very much from the school of perfect planning prevents poor performance. And that's what Coach Flores is all about for me. He is a head coach in waiting, and having him on board will stand our Steelers defense with new head coach, new defensive coordinator, Terrell Austin, have our Steelers defense back where it belongs in the top 5 of the NFL. Now, there are many players, Steelers fans, my fellow Steelers fans, that are rated as being breakout players this year. I've heard talk of Chase Claypool, of Alex Highsmith getting to double-digit sacks. I've heard talks of Cam Sutton coming into his own in the secondary. But for me, a possibility, a probability even now that he has Brian Flores behind him and coaching him for a breakout star for 2022 is Buddy Johnson. Buddy Johnson, 4th round pick from Texas A&M. A quality depth piece behind Jack and Bush. Someone who will bring a different type of linebacker play to our Pittsburgh Steelers. He is likely to get many more defensive snaps this year, not just special team snaps like last season. Flores' effect on him is likely to help him develop as a player and become the player that we knew he could be when Kevin Colbert selected him in the 4th round of the 2021 draft. The other thing you need to remember is that Buddy Johnson is something we do not have at this Steelers. He is more Vince Williams type, a Vinny Vici Mark II. He's more a buck linebacker than anything else we have. He's a thumper, a hitter, something we do not have in Bush, Jack, and Spillane. And him this season coming out and improving that linebacker core will develop this defense even more. Now, my fellow Steelers fans, it will not be easy this season. I guarantee that. And many of you I know out there have concerns over our offensive line. We have strengthened, the Pittsburgh Steelers have strengthened the interior offensive line with the acquisitions of James Daniels, of Mason Cole, and with the getting back to fitness of Kevin Dotson, and the position battle now between Dotson and Green. 2 dogs, 1 bone. It is bound to push up the standard. James Daniels will bring leadership, dynamism to our offensive line. And although there may be concerns over the tackles of Dan Moore and Jukes Okorafor, I believe having Kevin Dotson next to Dan Moore for a season, having James Daniels next to Jukes will bring out the best of them and give them that certainty that was not there last season, that helped them to be better performers this coming season for our Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, I want to turn to Najee Harris. Najee Harris, I think this season will be our leader on offense. He will be the shining light for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bold prediction number 1, promise number 1 from me to you in this State of the Steelers address. He will hit over 2,300 all-purpose yards this season. I firmly believe he will get between 1,800 and 2,000 yards on the ground behind this better offensive line. Najee Harris has bulked up. He looks like Marshawn Lynch. He looks beast mode for this year. And when you listen to him talk, he knows what is expected. He is a team guy, and he knows that by performing well, he will help the team to succeed. You look at what he achieved last season behind that awful offensive line, and you can only be more hopeful for this season. Najee Harris is the main man for me, and he will be absolutely awesome this season. Ladies and gentlemen, to finish off, I want to talk about the best. I've saved the best till last. I want to talk about Trent Jordan Watt. I firmly believe that Trent Jordan Watt can get himself into MVP consideration for our Steelers this coming season. Last season, TJ Watt tied Michael Strahan's sack record of 22.5 sacks in only 15 games, and it took Strahan 16 games. And let's face it, Strahan's sack that broke the record. Brett Favre wasn't exactly resistant now, was he? He's also joined Reggie White and Mark Gastineau as the only players in NFL history to lead the league in back-to-back seasons in sacks. He's done it 3 times, in fact. Well, nobody's done it 3 times. I firmly believe he will do it 3 times. Watt and Reggie White are the only players ever to record 13-plus sacks in 4 straight seasons. TJ Watt, behind a better defensive line, with Brian Flores' influence and Terrell Austin's influence, will, I believe, stand a chance of breaking that sack record again this season and taking it for himself. He is definitely a candidate for MVP and definitely a candidate to repeat as Defensive Player of the Year. So, my fellow Steelers fans, I leave you with this. We are in the best possible position heading into training camp on the 27th of July. We have a firm foundation from which to build, and I can see only great things for the 2022 Pittsburgh Steelers. Thank you for listening, my fellow Steelers fans. I wish you all the best. Here we go, Steelers.